Yeehaw, partner.
I hope this lighting is not too terrible. I think my light is dying. Sorry if I look down a lot during this video. I have a lot of thoughts, so I needed to have my notes right on my phone. So, like you guys probably are, I've been watching a lot of movies while we're here self-isolating in quarantine, and some of them have been pretty good. Just watched Loving Vincent yesterday, and that was insanely good and such a fascinating use of art. Others have been not so good. A couple days ago I watched Izzy and Aussie. It was supposed to be, I believe, a German rom-com. She's a rich heiress who wants to be a chef, and he's a poor boy from the wrong side of the tracks who wants to be a boxer. They meet, and she pays him to be her boyfriend to piss off her parents. So pretty standard fare. There's also this weird storyline where she's basically illiterate, and he, for some reason, is good at counting the letters in a word. I don't know. It's weird. It had a pretty good rating on IMDb. I had seen it before, so I thought, why not? I didn't think it was gonna be anything amazing, but I figured on the scale of Hallmark movies to some top-tier rom-coms a Julia Roberts rom-com or one with Rachel McAdams, I thought, it's got to be at least midway on there. And, it for the first maybe 10 minutes of the movie, it seemed like it was going to be that. It did some things which I wasn't a super huge fan of, but I was whatever, it's a rom-com. They're trying to make it interesting and trying to do things that you wouldn't normally see in a rom-com. So I was cool, I'll rock with it, whatever. And then Aussie, who is the male main character, his grandfather gets out of jail. And that kind of turns the movie into this whole other thing, because I was, trying to watch it and enjoy it and take it in. But this character just kept doing things that were not super great. He's one of those characters who seems to be in a movie only for the shock value, which, is fine. It's not exactly my favorite thing in a movie, but in a comedy movie, that's not really unlikely. And, especially on sitcoms, that's a pretty huge thing. However, he kind of ruined the movie for me, because unlike these other characters who are in there for shock value, he didn't just kind of make some weirdly uncomfortable jokes about women, or even, the regular level of haha, racism is funny jokes. He was he was a real racist the entire movie. And unlike, other characters, he kind of gets away with it without ever having to change his behavior or even really being called out for this behavior. Everybody in the movie kind of just treats it as haha, grandpa's being racist again. The only time when he ever gets even vaguely called out for being racist is when Aussie calls him out right after he gets home from jail, and he's you can't use this derogatory term because my best friend is actually from the group that you're insulting. And that's the only time that it's ever addressed. He even has a small subplot where he starts a rapping career that I have no words for that, but he makes a whole racist music video, and everyone's haha, satirical, funny, but he's serious. He's not joking. Yeah, that was pretty wild. Even even like later on they try to give him not a redemption arc, but they try to make him like explain why he is the way that he is to Aussie. And he's like, oh, I'm acting this way because like he spent 14 years in jail. And he basically says that like the world has changed so much around him that he just like doesn't know how to deal with it. And that's why he's being like so weird, because he also has, you know, his racist moments, but he also just has a lot of moments where he just like hates on millennials and other like women. Like he's just not like a great person at all. But even though he like admits that like he doesn't know how to act in this new world, he still doesn't admit that his racist actions were like wrong or ever like try to change those actions. In fact, he doesn't even really address his racism at all. He just talks about like how hipsters have kind of overrun their neighborhood and now all of the area is like trendy bars and stuff. And it's like, I know that I shouldn't really care because it's a silly Netflix movie, and like if I wasn't in quarantine, I probably wouldn't have even watched it. But like the thing is, as a person of color and a person who watches a lot of movies, I've come across a lot of movies like that over the years with similar jokes. And I think it's a genuine problem. I mean, why are we constantly asked to sympathize with these characters? Why are we constantly asked to, you know, overlook this one thing about them so that we can connect to the larger story? Like, this guy literally ruined the movie for me, and I'm pretty sure that's not true for most viewers. They just kind of laughed it off and moved on. And, you know, this is true for a lot of other movies. For example, I could talk about probably several Sam Rockwell characters, because that guy plays a lot of like honorable racist characters, which is not like a thing that should be a trope, but somehow it is, and somehow it's the one that he's been typecast into. Specifically though, I want to talk about his character in Jojo Rabbit, Captain K. As I've talked about in my 2019 favorites video, I really liked Jojo Rabbit. I watched it and I thought that it did a pretty good job of talking about, you know, the dangers of Nazism and the dangers of that type of group thinking. And then, after watching the movie and loving it, I went online and saw a bunch of people basically giving his character a free pass for being a Nazi just because he did one good thing in the movie and also was like heavily hinted to be gay, and so like he wasn't a real Nazi. Like, the dude literally has lines in the movie where he like laments that he's injured and he can't be fighting on the front lines. Like, I don't care what his sexual orientation is. The dude was clearly a real Nazi. Like, that's not forgivable. Anyway, I just think it's terrible how often Hollywood and mainstream media rely on racist jokes and caricatures to get a laugh from the audience. Like, so many movies on Disney Plus had to have like scenes removed from them because they had like racist stuff in them, and even some of them still have them. Like, I watched Aristocats. I watched it a month ago, and they still had the scene where there was like a Siamese cat who was playing the piano with chopsticks. Like, it's disgusting. And as someone who believes that film and TV are a huge part of how we think about the world and how people are taught what is socially okay and what is true in culture, I think that it needs to change. I think that we as an audience and that the industry we all need to take a more critical eye on what's being made, what's being put out, and what we're taking in, because it's honestly ridiculous.